Hello everyone, my name is Professor Bond, and today I'm going to show you how to do annotated bibliography. What is annotated bibliography, you asked? Well, the definition is it's basically a bibliography is a list of sources, books, journals, websites, periodicals. One has been used for researching a topic. Bibliographies are sometimes called references or works cited, depending on the style format you're using. A bibliography usually just includes the bibliography information, author, title, publisher, and even in our case, the summary and source of what you're looking at. The source is Purdue Writing Center. So the first thing you do to do a bit about annotated bibliography is, what is annotation? Well, annotation is simply a summary or evaluation. So it's just looking at your sources. So before you ever write a paper, you got to look around. You got to look around. What's going on. Okay. And so basically, annotative is basically that's what it is. So if I was looking at Chinese restaurants or the massive racism against Asians, I would just look around what's in the sources, right? It's easy, particularly for our classes, we're looking at food or something. If you want to use that example, you can look at, LexisNexis or JSTOR, and those are wonderful places where you look. All right, so first things first, when you find a source, you got to summarize it. Okay, some annotations merely summarize the source. So for this case, 4 sentences, 4 to 6 sentences. What is the main argument of the article that you're looking at for Chinese restaurants? What's the point of the Chinese book or article about Chinese restaurants? What are the topics? What if someone asks you like, hey, what's your book about? What's about? So basically in a summary, you want to answer the who, what, where, when, how, and why, but you want to do it in your own words. You want to paraphrase. And the reason why you don't want to just cut and paste is you're not going to remember it. You got to put in your own words, and that's how you remember. So you put it in your final paper. Another thing you have to do when you do annotated bibliography is you have to reflect. Once you've summarized and assessed a source, you need to ask how it fits in your research. So your research, for example, let's say, racism against Chinese restaurants during this COVID time, historical lowering of Chinese restaurants. You're just looking, you want to think about it, right? We've had such a long anti-Chinese sentiment, 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act, the war against Chinese restaurants. Those are all, things that you should have in your mind, and that's going to help you ground yourself by looking at the historical sources, right? Now, how can you use a source in your research? Well, first of all, you want to look at different sources first. So we're not there yet. We want to just see as many sources, and generally 10 is a good kind of way to look at it. And that's a good place to start. All right. So a lot of times, never ever write before you read. Okay. So this is a really good quote by Fran Lebowitz. And she says, think before you speak, read before you think. And I would say, before you write, you got to do both those things. Okay. You got to think before you speak, read before you think, and read before you write, right? So writing is a form of thinking. There's no permanence. Do not be married to your writing. You're going to have to rewrite things over and over and over again. Just like we know math is hard, writing is hard. Writing is difficult and hard, and you're going to have to write it again and again. So this is not, oh, it's going to be perfect the first time. And that's why people have this idea, oh, I'm not a good writer, I'm a bad writer. No, writing is all about thinking and reading. You got to read a lot of different places, and that's actually going to improve your writing. All right, so the format. The bibliographic information, generally through the bibliographic information of the source, the title, the author, the publisher, the date, is written in either Chicago style, MLA, or APA. For our class, because I have to teach you a writing style, I'm going to teach you Chicago. Now, Chicago is the most used in social science. So if you're an anthropologist, political scientist, various social sciences, you use Chicago. Now, having said that, what about the other ones? MLA, APA, perfectly fine, but I'm here to teach you a skill, and the skill is I'm going to teach you Chicago style. Had you taken another class, you would learn MLA. Had you taken another class, APA. They're all fine and good. You just change with the actual class. So don't be married to citation styles, because again, you're going to have to change a lot of your citation styles according to your audience. All right, so now we're going to go over Chicago style. Okay, so do you see how this is last name Grazer, first name Brian, but see how it actually goes now in first and second order? First name Charles, second name Fishman. Okay, then we're going to do a period. Now, there's actually, strangely, there's actually many Chicago styles. Okay, and the Chicago style 16 and 14. So some Chicago styles have you put the year right after the Fishman, right after. But again, I don't care. Whatever Chicago style you want to use, obviously Google it, whatever you want to do. Now, here is the thing that will trick you. A curious mind, the secret to a bigger life. Now, do you see how that's in italics? Well, in italics is actually in Chicago style, you put the title in italics. Yeah. So it's a little different from the other MLA, APA. They do it differently. Again, it's the same. Who cares? Just whatever they ask for, you change them. It's kind of like Mac and Dell. I mean, or it's like Moodle on Blackboard and Canvas. I mean, I've taught them all. You just change with the topic. It's not the device, it's you. You should be mobile and just change. Now, do you see how it says New York? So that's where it's published, and colon, Simon & Schuster is the publisher. And then you do comma, 2015, period. So that's one way to do it. And again, of course, I've seen there's 16 types of Chicago style. So I have seen the year in, right after the name. So again, I don't care either way. Okay, so if you're wondering what's the difference between this and APA, well, APA, MLA, I'm not exactly a fan. Sometimes they actually don't put the full name, and it's hard to find sometimes when you don't have full name. They just actually put the letter or alphabet, and so that's something that they do. So another thing, here's another example. Smith Zandy, Swing Time is her book. See how it's italicized. New York again, and where it's published, colon, and Penguin Press, comma, 2016. Not too hard, actually. The only thing you're going to have to remember is the italicization. Okay, so if you're doing annotated bibliography, I want you to do it Chicago style. All right, so another thing is that I want you to learn is a book chapter. Okay, so how do you do a book chapter? You want to do here is another way to do it. Okay, Henry David Thoreau, walking in the chapter called Walking, and you see how it's in quotations with a comma in the full essay book, and you see how again it is actually the making of the American essay. The editor actually is John D. Agataga, and again, do you see how that they're putting editor? They put ed's lowercase with a period, and then you do you put parentheses, Minnesota, that's where it was published, and colon, Graywood Press, that's the press, comma, 2016, and then you close off the parentheses and then comma. And here is the kicker, the page number. I should have put this in a hot pink. Page number is where you're going to put the book chapter. Okay, so another shortened way of looking at it is Thoreau Walking. Right, so a lot of times when you do a shortened note, it just means that you fully cited it the first time, so the second time you wouldn't do the full citation, you just put the shortened note. But again, Google that, how you want to do it. There's many different ways. Okay, now when you put it in your works cited, okay, this is how it is. See how it's Thoreau last name, comma, Henry David, period. Again, depends on what Chicago style number. 2016 can be here and right after or at the end. You see walking here is so you put a quote among the chapter, and then in the Making of American Essay edited by John D. Agataga, and then again, comma, the page number, and then again, period, Minnesota, Graywood Press in 2016. All right, so here is journalistic articles. You want to put here first name. Generally you want to put last name. Okay, so it depends. Again, there's lots of different Chicago styles. I would like you to Google it forever, the newest one. Here, there's one way to do it. You could do Susan. I generally see that it's actually last name. Okay, but again, Google the newest style for journal style. There's, it's always changing. That last time I looked, it was 14, 15, 16. Now I think there's one over 16. So again, Google the Chicago style to find out what is the newest thing. The newest edition sometimes is like really different. Very minute difference actually. All right, so website content, again, just open up your Chicago style. So here you're gonna put down the title of the website, privacy, okay, last modified, and then the page, the kind of the content. And again, I'm not an expert if you're going to cite Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. So obviously you're going to have to Google that and just find out how does one cite TikTok. But I'm sure there's a way you can find it Chicago style. Okay. All right. So again, I want to give you an example of one way to do annotated bibliography. Do you see it says Asian American Society and Encyclopedia Filipino American Education? Do you see how it's like the name? You see where it's from, the title of the article, the year, then you have the actual encyclopedia entry, and then you put the author here and the page number. Now here's what I'm going to ask you to put in where you found it, right? The location, okay? And then here you see the article explain in your own words, like 4 to 6 sentences, and you want to put a quote. The quote is very crucial. Okay. Why do you want to quote? Well, you know what? You're writing the same paper over and over and over and over again, right? So the thing is, first of all, you don't want to forget the citations. You want to always have it with you. But the second is you want to put these quotes, because you might use these quotes and put it in your paper. So it's always good. I generally put in 2 or 3 quotes per article that I might need, and I literally need it later on. So then here I generally put notes like, what did I find out? Oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay. So again, that is what an annotated bibliography looks like. And I will show you another example next time. All right. I hope you learned what an annotated bibliography is.